throughout the history of television, one thing has always been a constant, especially growing up in the 90s, and that was special episodes. And I don't mean no special episodes where we talk about cancer or a rocket explosion or stuff like that. I mean holiday episodes. Specifically, in this case, the Halloween episode. Back in the day, they did these all the time, and there were two top contenders for the best Halloween episodes that you could do. The two shows that did the best Halloween episodes. Roseanne, which we will not be talking about because I don't own any of those. I have any access to them. And Home Improvement. And perhaps the most well-known Halloween episode in Home Improvement's run was The Haunting of the Taylor House. It was the first Halloween episode, which was season 2, episode 6, if you are wondering. And this is the one, this is my go-to, right? Well, I only have the first 2 seasons. But this is, when I think of Home Improvement Halloween episodes, there are other ones, certainly, throughout the run. I think seasons 2 through 7, they had them. I think there was one in season 8. It was like seasons 2 through 7 had them. There are certainly other ones. But this is the one I could really remember. I know there's another one where Al's trying to convince her that he's dating witch or Wilson's dating a witch or something. Whatever. But, and if you go through these episodes, you know that Tim is a big Halloween guy. I mean, this is the first episode, and he's making this whole Halloween haunted house thing in his basement. If you're not familiar with Home Improvement, I'll do a quick plot crunch for you of the show. And Tim the Toolman Taylor, played by Tim Allen, hosts a TV show called Tool Time, where he and his sidekick Al, I just had breakfast, Al Borland, played by Richard Karn, they construct things. And the joke is that Tim, he's not so good at this. Blow stuff up, gluing his head to stuff, breaking stuff, that sort of thing. And that's usually, like, they do the beginning and then the episode usually starts with that, and then they might do something later in the episode. This episode does not do that. They have a neighbor named Wilson. Tim has a wife and 3 boys, which, yes, is a direct contrast to his later show, Man with a Plan. No, that's the Joe Tribbiani. Whatever, the new one. I can't think of it. Last Man Standing, that one, where he has 3 daughters instead of 3 sons. They did do a sort of Home Improvement reunion of sorts. Jonathan Taylor Thomas showed up on a couple episodes. Patricia Richardson, who plays his wife on here, showed up in an episode. So, Richard Karn, I think, showed up a couple times. Yeah. And so their neighbor Wilson never shows his face. That's the running gag. They don't do it until the behind-the-scenes bonus episode they aired after the finale, where they finally come out for the where he finally reveals his face, and it's kind of unremarkable. It's just a guy, But the plot of this episode in particular is that it's Halloween, and Tim, the Taylors, are throwing this Halloween party for their eldest son, Brad, who, little fact, Zachary Ty Bryan, who plays, I think I mentioned this in my Smallville review, who plays the oldest son, is actually not the oldest kid actor. John Taylor Thomas is actually a year older than he is, but he's playing the middle child. You can never tell, right? So throwing a party, and things get out of whack when Brad's girlfriend, is like 10, does not show up with the costume that they agreed on because women are way more emotional than men. It's true. there's a lot of times women will blow things way out of proportion, and a man will just sort of simply just, they were in the same situation, like, you know, whatever. But a woman, oh my, you know, and this, you know. So we start off the episode. Let's talk about the start of the episode, okay? We start with a tool time bit. Tim and Al are building a brick wall. I don't know why. They never explained this. He's like, oh, I'm out of brick. And we get the joke. So, Tim, would you say you're 2 bricks shy of a load? Or a brick shy of a load? You know, like a brain joke. And he's like, I think you're 2 jokes shy of unemployment or something like that. So he has him go get the brick. Strangely enough, their assistant Lisa does not show up. It was Pamela Anderson. Yeah, later to be replaced with Heidi, played by the very gorgeous Debbie Dunning, who I did have a crush on back in the day. Gorgeous woman. So while Al is going into the back to get the brick that is actually not there, Tim switches into a costume and tries to scare Al. Of course, it doesn't. And he's like, got you good, didn't I, Al? Yes, Tim, I'm quaking. I do like this joke, though. He's like, what are you supposed to be? I'm Al. And he goes, ah! Goes to the camera. It's an owl! I do like that joke. You know. It's like the jokes where from basketball, where Squeak he's putting on a whole bunch of scary masks, it's not doing anything, and he takes it off and the guy goes, ah! It reminds me of something like that. But yeah. So after this, we have the opening titles, and then we go to the main plot. We're back at the Taylor house, and Jill is making up the stuff for the party. She's doing worms and dirt with the gummy worms and the chocolate. It's like, what is it? Chocolate pudding and Oreo cookies or something like that. Is that what that was? I think they did that in school for us back in the day too. And then later they have eyeballs and pus, which is grapes and tapioca pudding. Tapioca. But yeah. Why tapioca though? Is the little rice things, and they're supposed to be like maggots, I guess. And then Tim gets the idea to add green food color into it, and they're infected. So Brad is getting ready for his Halloween. He and his girlfriend Jennifer are coming as Raggedy Ann and Andy. They call him Raggedy Andy. I have never once heard him called Raggedy Andy. It's always Raggedy Ann and Andy. I had 2 little dolls when I was a kid, and if I knew that the original Annabelle doll was a Raggedy Ann doll, that thing would have been thrown out the window. But when I was little, like 5 or 6 years old or whatever, I had one of those little ones, you know. I think I actually gave them to my sister when I got older, but, you know, they had them. My mom got it for me, didn't they? And yes, I do vaguely remember that movie, that mind-fuck trip of a movie that they did, because Nostalgia Critic covered it. And I remember, I think I saw this when I was a kid. It's one of those things where I remember that, you know. You watch a lot of kid movies as a kid, and then you stay and say, oh, yeah, I do remember this, you know. But, yeah, so he is mildly interested in this. He's doing it for Jennifer. It's one of those things, you do it for your girlfriend, right? You don't want to do it, but you have to do it to make her happy. And that, guys, fellas out there, that is the horcrux of being a guy, right? You gotta do things for your girl to make her happy. Even if you don't want to do them, you gotta do them. Even Tim tries to explain, oh, you gotta do things that you would normally do so that for a woman, so that the woman will do things they don't want to do, which is a sex joke. But then he changed it. Oh, you know, shave your back hair, stuff like that. And so after Brad runs back upstairs, they're discussing costumes, and Jill says she's going to. Tim says he's going to have the scariest costume, which is part of an in joke, which I'll have to explain when we get to it. But but Jill says, no. The guy at the costume store promised me the scariest costume in the store. So she made a reservation. So she goes to get it, and he's, preparing things. And so we see Randy is dressed as a pirate. That's the middle son, Randy, JTT. Dressed as a pirate. And Mark, the younger son, he's dressed as Tim the Toolman Taylor. Oh, yeah. One thing you gotta understand about this show is the grunts. All right, this I should explain actually. At the middle of the episode, this was the show that I watched growing up. Man, my grandparents watched it. My grandpa was a big fan. We had him a tie, a couple ties, because he was a meat manager, so he had to wear a tie under his thing. I think he had a whole bunch of ties. I used to mess around with those ties when I was a kid. Did I shut the window all the way? I heard the freeway. Sucks when you live next to the freeway. Can't sleep with the windows open because then you're idiots driving down them and too close to it. Anyway, and he had like a couple shirts, Tool Time shirts, so that he had, he was onto it. And then he had the DVDs, not all of them, a couple of them. Probably the same ones I had. I think he had season 5 though. So maybe not all, but I wanted to. That's it. I want to get the rest, but But yeah, so that was the show. My grandma had so many of these on tape. Like, she had upwards of 11 or 12 VHS tapes. Maybe more. I have a couple of them in my collection that I took from her. And I'm glad I did, because she ended up getting rid of them. Most of her VHS tapes. And I'm like, well, I'm glad I have them. And then I'll have a VCR to watch them. But it's good. It's cool to go back and watch those. Some of them have commercials, and some of them she did a thing where she'd take the commercials out. Because she, even back then, I hated ads. People hated commercials, but, some of them. But, yeah, but there's so many. 11 to maybe even 15 VHS tapes, all home improvement, ranging from some of the earliest stuff to later stuff. I think she had the series finale on a tape. I might even have it somewhere in here. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting. I will always stand up for going back and watching a VHS, especially if they're ones with commercials, because it's a capsule of that time, like the 90s, and you were watching commercials from back then, man. It's like, so I like to look up old commercials on YouTube, 90s commercials, and it's like, I remember that one. Oh, yeah, that one, like Crossfire. Or I remember this one. It was during Halloween, right? I think, whatever. It's creating a bike. It's a mad scientist and this kid create this bike. It was a Huffy bike, I think, or something. Anyway, back to the episode. I'm on a tangent for too long. Back to the freaking episode. Okay. So, the guests start to arrive, including a character that is never been seen before or after that of the character of Curtis, who's dressed as an atom. I don't remember this character being in any other episode. Just this one. This is the only episode I remember this character from. Oh, hey, Tim, Curtis is here. And I'm like, it's Curtis. Like, even as a kid, I'm like, who's Curtis? Like, I literally do not remember seeing this character anymore. Were they trying to bring like another kid character into the show? And they realized it wasn't going to work? Was it going to be like a Skippy from... Is this Skippy? No, that's Family Ties. I'm thinking of the Flash from Step by Step, but that was after this. Like one of those characters, like an Urkel type. Were they trying to copy it like an Urkel type character, a neighbor or a kid who shows up? And I don't know. I don't remember him beyond this episode. It could be wrong, but I don't remember him. Like, he's not a big recurring character. I don't remember him. However, Then Jennifer shows up, and she's not dressed like Raggedy Ann. No, she's dressed like a biker chick. And with her is a kid dressed like a biker guy, and it is Ryder Strong, Sean from Boy Meets World. Little one. This is before Boy Meets World. This is 92. Boy Meets World is 93. So this is before that. Maybe someone in ABC executive saw him and you know what? I want him to be the bad boy kid on our new show. Who knows? Because Home Improvement started in 91. This is 92. Season 2. So, yeah. So, something is going on. Jennifer's mad at Brad for what? We don't know yet. And it's one of those women that, well, you should know. Ladies, men are idiots. If you assume we should know something, we probably don't. Okay, don't ever assume we should know what we did wrong, because odds are we don't. Okay? So you just know your men, okay? When it comes to guys, our biggest catchphrase is, Billy Wall said the best, Yeah, we act all high and mighty, but we actually know less than women do. Yes, women are the smarter sex. I admit it. Guys, we don't know shit, all right? And we act like we do. That is the point of us as guys. We cannot let our pride, cannot let us be seen as anything other than the superior of everything. We are men, we are the man, we are, But, it's all an act. So if we have an argument and you assume we know what it's about, or if you're mad at us and you assume we should know what it's about, I would say at least 50-50 it's going to be, no, we have no idea. We will have some semblance, but, we're guys. We don't, Anyway, so Brad has no idea why she's mad at him. He's mad now. So I want to point out that the scene with the two other brothers, they go out trick-or-treating, yet Mark is somehow down in the basement later, dressed in the mask and stuff from earlier on in the episode. I don't know. But, was this edited in the wrong time? Did they just want to have this at the end? Because, okay, so Brad's outside, Tim is talking to him, and Tim tells him, basically what I said, the girls, they think we're smarter than we are, but we're not, sort of thing, and, go in there, talk to her about it. He does say that the best 2 words you could ever say to a woman are, I understand. I don't know how much that is true. I've never really, I've had some girlfriends, but we never really had arguments. Not really. They broke up with me, which kind of tells me I have issues. I don't know. Some of those wasn't even my fault. Not any of them, I don't think were my fault. None of them were my fault, to be honest. And I'm not being a high-mighty guy, all right? I'm not going to specifics, but first girlfriend, no, wasn't my fault. We were fine. She was, to be truthful though, she didn't actually break up with me. She hired a Mexican lady to flirt with, a Mexican girl, we're in high school, to flirt with me. And then say, well, you know what? If this is going to happen, we should break up. Stupidest thing. And a friend of mine is like, oh, hey, we figured out it was a setup. A second girlfriend cheated on me with a guy that she knew I hated, but she cheated on me. And then we got back together. She's the mother of my child, by the way, but mother of my son. We got back together, and my son was born, and then there was problems with her family, so we broke up, and then we tried it again. Didn't work. We broke up again. So 3 times. Strikes. 3 strikes. You're out of here, woman. And then there was one girl who was sort of my girlfriend. She was handicapped. She didn't understand. We were more just friends, you know. You know, it wasn't really a serious thing. And there's another one that I'm not gonna go into specifics with but it wasn't my fault. It was her fault. But anyway, yeah. So we're back to this. So Brad goes to talk to. I go on tangents. I'm sorry. My experiences with women, I guess. Goes to talk to her, and it turns out that she's mad at Brad because Brad didn't pick her during kickball after school. His response is, well, yeah, I wanted to win. And she's like, well, still, how can you do that to me? And she's like, well, you know, he's like, at least I won or something like that. And she's like, oh, no, not like that. And so, but I understand that it's not about winning. Should have picked your girlfriend. Yeah. I see the point they're trying to make in this episode. Like, he should have picked her. I get it. And it was a chance, right? Like, if he didn't pick this person, who was probably the best, then someone would take her. Sure. But it's one thing to take someone who's a better player than your girlfriend, but also if that person who's better than a kickball than your girlfriend is a girl, that's another no-no. But they make amends. They're back together. Still doesn't change her costume. So, yeah. And like I said, I think this is edited weird because in it cuts, they're going down to the basement. Excuse me. Oh, I'm going to talk about Curtis some more. First of all, Curtis, this character I'd never seen after this or before this, shows up and he's basically insulting everyone. Well, mostly Jill, because she's oh, that's the punchline. She's gonna have the scariest costume. She ends up coming back as a carrot, and Tim's like, that's the scariest costume I've ever seen. Hide the dip, you know. And one thing I want to point out is that Tim Allen and Patricia Richardson are so good with each other. They play off each other so well. They're just throwing barbs at each other the entire episode, basically. And it's, you know, it's great. But yeah, there's a joke where the zipper's stuck and she has to go to the bathroom, right? Zipper's stuck and Curtis asks where the bathroom is and he says, oh, it's down the hall next to the cyclotron, you know, for the little atoms. And then he turns the corner and Tim uses the spray lubricant and gets it off. She ends up, she runs. Watch out, Atom Boy! And he just goes flying backwards. So they go down to the basement. And you get Mark dressed the little thing, the little costume thing. And I do laugh at this because it's like, oh, come on, that's just Brad's dorky little brother. And he responds with, it is not me! And that's how you respond, Mark. Sorry, I'm going to laugh. It is not me. Oh. And then we get what I have to cue you guys in the running joke here. So they move the curtain and Tim is dressed as an old woman, Nana Stein. So part of the running jokes one running joke that is always through here until they actually have her on screen is that Tim is constantly making fun of Jill's mom, Nana, because she's overweight. That is until they decide to cast her as Polly Holiday, who was not overweight, so they had to say, oh, she lost weight, she, you know, that sort of thing. But it was a joke. It was after that, then they just moved on to making it Al's mom, who was overweight, and that was the joke. But yeah, so that's part of the running joke. He's dressed Nana Stein, which he's not fat, but you know, He's like the mother-in-law from beyond the grave or something, and he pretends to cough up a gummy worm. The maggot, you know. And here's the thing: he scares them up. So my problem here is that he scares most of the kids up the stairs. And another running joke they have is whenever he goes onto the basement, he hits his head on the pipe. So he turns around and oh, you know. And so Ryder Strong, this kid, Danny is his name, I think, calls him out. He's like, "Oh, come on, you're dressed like an old lady, and your wife's a radish." She's like, "Hey, I'm a carrot." He's like, "Oh, no, that's not likely to buy the, you know." But he's like, "Come on, Jennifer, let's go." And I'm like, was this supposed to be before she and Brad made up? Well, no, because Tim is dressed normally earlier, and now he's anesthetized. So maybe not. So why is he calling for Jennifer? I don't know. But he scares the crap out of little Sean here by saying, "Oh, you don't go in Nanastein's toolbox." I was like, "What? What's it?" And it pops up in his bucket. "Oh, a bucket. I'm so scared." And he moves it, and it's Al's head. And my eye. And it scares him. But earlier he was freaking out. He wasn't freaking out. He was like, "Hey," pointing out this, that. But he can't just say, "Hey, that's just some guy's head." And no, he freaks out. And then he got this butt. Is it Mark again in the body thing? I don't know. My body, my body. You know. Maybe it's animatronic. I don't know. But he goes up the stairs and all the kids are back. They already ran up, but the kids are back. Did they run back down again? I don't know. I don't know. There's also Wilson as a mummy. Yeah, that's basically where the episode ends. But then you have a thing at the end where because there was a joke there. I forgot about the joke earlier on where Tim says he's got to get the cleaver. He wants to get the cleaver from Wilson. He comes in and he's like, "Hey, Randy, you see my cleaver anywhere?" And he turns around and he's got it stuck in his head. And he's like, I got a splitting headache. Very funny, Dad. Nice fake cleaver. Yeah, well, joke's on you. It's a real cleaver. It's a fake head. You know. But, so it ends with Tim going to get Wilson. I want to call him Winston. I don't know why. Wilson, his cleaver. Leaving Al down in the basement, still attached to the thing with his head sticking out. He's like, "Oh, what about me, Tim? What about you?" "Well, there's spiders down here." "Well, don't worry about it. They're fake spiders. Probably spiders. Joe bought them at a joke store." And so they go up the stairs, and you see it's tarantula. By the way, tarantulas would not just be living in your basement. I don't think Joe bought this at a joke store, and then the episode ends. And so we have some bloopers during the credits, but they're not the best bloopers. But this episode overall is actually pretty good. It's a memorable one. It's one I like to go back and watch. And we'll be looking at some Halloween episodes. I got a couple from Two Guys and a Girl in the Pizza Place here. Or Two Guys and a Girl. Although that's the overall case, but you do this. And you got Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza Place, and Two Guys and a Girl. They changed the name. Halfway through the series and got rid of the pizza place. I am going, now that I found it, because this was going to be the next Scotty TV episode. So I'm going to start watching these. I also have to do, I don't know. I want to get this out before the end of the year because it's something I can put it on in the meantime between things. I also want to get back to Smallville. You know what I mean? Who knows? I can actually watch it now and just, I don't know. So anyway, what are your thoughts on this episode? Leave a comment, share, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.